what is going on? Endless war in the Middle East. Well, this is because we're defending someone with some 7th century BC vision of what they want their country to be.
Were Americans involved in the overthrow of Assad last week?
Of course they were, because this has been an ongoing operation. Whether they were involved in the final days, I don't know. They were involved in the 13 years nonstop.
I don't understand how.
Actually, let me tell you an interesting story. By the way, the war started in 2011. It was called It was portrayed as always, as the CIA does, as a local uprising and the freedom fighters. And it was said this was Syrians protesting against Syria. That's always how any CIA regime change operation works. There may also be local opposition, but the CIA it provides the armaments, it provides the flow of heavy weapons, it provides the financing, it provides the training, it provides the camps, it provides the political organization. So this started in 2011. In 2012, there was already a bloodbath underway, and a lot of people dying, and a lot of civilians dying, and a lot of ancient historic sites, because this is the Fertile Crescent. This is the birthplace of humanity itself, of civilization, being destroyed. And so very senior global diplomat that I knew very, very well was tasked with trying to find peace. Peace, nice idea. Maybe we don't need the bloodbath. And I met him in the spring of 2012, and he said it failed. And said, why did it fail? He said, well, we had a full peace agreement, but it was blocked by one party alone. We had the different forces in Syria, we had the regional, but it was blocked by one. Who was it blocked by? It was blocked by the United States government. Why? Well, because their condition was that Assad must go on the first day of the agreement, rather than a political process. Everyone else agreed on a political process, but the United States said, no, this is regime change. Assad must go on the first day, and that was not possible. So that was the end of the attempt at peace. So we should understand this was an American operation.
But I never what I didn't understand and still don't understand is why we're all required to hate Assad. I'm not just speaking for myself. I don't have strong feelings about Assad one way or the other. Apparently he's protected the Christians, so I'm grateful for that as a Christian. But why am I required to hate Assad? Tulsi Gabbard went and met with Assad. She's been attacked ever since. Has anyone ever explained why Americans should hate Assad?
Because every regime change operation we ever do, we have to make sure that the opponent is the worst villain since Hitler, or Hitler reincarnate.
Some ophthalmologist from London is a bloodthirsty dictator. I didn't really.
We have to say this, and this is part of the psyops or the info war that goes along with regime change operations. This is completely typical. And we're told if we don't stop him now, it's only going to spread. And
he'll be in Des Moines.
Exactly. This is the Nicaraguans were going to be in Harlingen, Texas. Remember, this is standard fare. It's so pedestrian, such bad script writing, that you can't believe it's still rolled out.
But why doesn't someone at the New York Times just ask the obvious question, which is, why am I supposed to hate Assad exactly? Why is it somehow a test of my loyalty to the United States what I think of Bashar al-Assad? Like, who cares? Like, what? That's such a core question. I've never heard anyone ask that.
Can I laugh when you mention New York Times? Because they won't cover any historical background of any conflict at all, because all of this is aimed at a free hand for the security state, a free hand for the military.
But why would the New York Times be parroting the security state?
Well, I think that's a question that goes back decades, partly because it's staffed in part by probably people from the intelligence agencies. We've known that for years. I don't know.
At the New York Times.
But we know in the past the CIA just had reporters on the payroll. I mean, whether they do or not now, I have no idea. So I'm not making a current claim, but we know that that's a historic fact. We know historically that with very rare exceptions, the New York Times has just followed the unnamed official sources, that this is the whole MO. This patriotic newspaper. It follows what it's told to do. And it doesn't ask questions. It has not asked any questions about any of these wars in recent memory, not about Ukraine, not about the wars raging throughout the Middle East. As I said, I think there was one full page actually about Operation Timber Sycamore in 2016. You would think that something that got us into a war of 13 years where we spent billions of dollars, where hundreds of thousands of people died, even at this stage, there would be a kind of page or a box explaining the historical background to this, but it didn't exist. I actually wrote, I have to say, I wrote to one of the reporters saying, couldn't you mention a little background? Said, oh, very interesting idea, Mr. Sachs. So I'm waiting.
You wrote to a New York Times reporter.
Well, I know these people for decades.
Yeah.
And by the way, not only do I know them, and some I like very much, by the way, and some have been classmates of mine a long time ago, and they know things that they don't report. And that's also important to understand, that what they will say in private is the opposite of what their newspaper says. And I mean literally the opposite. So that's very worrying to me, because we operate foreign policy in secrecy. We do not have any kind of democratic oversight of foreign policy. There's no explanation of it. There's no accountability for it. It's in a very few hands. It's not in good or reliable hands. It's not explained. We gave over Middle East foreign policy to Israel a long time ago, not to U.S. interests, but to Israel's interests. That is the Israel lobby. And we don't hear questioning of this at all. Of course, not from the government, not from the Congress, not from oversight by any democratic institutions, nor does the mainstream media, which fewer and fewer people are interested in because they don't get any facts from it, look into these issues.
What happens next in Syria?
Well, there'll be continued war, and now the drumbeat is for war with Iran. Anything is possible.